Hi, my name is Wojciech Sadurski. Today I'll be sharing with you some of my thoughts about Androidtv. I'm going to show you how you can build your own apps, and maybe I'll try at least to show you why you should do it in the first place. So, to start with, I've been playing around with Android since late 2013, and I'm an Androidtv technical project leader at TiVo Poland, which is also known as QBware because it was its previous name. TiVo is a company which in general operates in TV business. It provides software for TV operators, for set-top boxes, and for backend as well as machine learning and analytics solutions. And here in Poland we are developing software for television set-top boxes, and now we are developing also software for television set-top boxes powered by Androidtv. So, as you may know, Android consists of many form factors. We all know Android mobile, we all know Android tablet, some of us know Android Wear, and maybe some of you also know Apple TV and Android Automotive. The last one is, in my opinion, the one that will be gaining more traction in the future. It's not very present on the market yet, but TV has been with us since 2014, and it was in the first years it got moderate reception, but it started to get some more traction recently, and I'm going to show you why. So nowadays there are about tens of millions of active Androidtv devices. This is a citation from a technical product manager of Androidtv. And around 1 million of devices activate every 2 months. And there are some estimations that by 2022 there will be more than 100 million devices powered by Androidtv on the market, which you can compare to more than 2 billion mobile devices running Android, which in 2022 may be getting even closer to 3 billion. Nowadays there are about 2,000 Androidtv apps in Google Play, which you can compare to more than 2 million mobile apps for Android in Google Play. Also, what's worth noting, Amazon Fire TV OS, which is very popular in North America, is a direct fork of Android, and it has another 30 million active users. And porting applications from Androidtv to Fire TV OS is very, very straightforward. Androidtv is also the most popular operating system among smart TVs, and its biggest competitor is Tizen from Samsung, which has its own technology, their own app store, and these technologies are not compatible in any way. You may know Androidtv well from televisions like from Bravia, from Sony, or from Philips. They started rolling out televisions running Androidtv around 2014-2015. You may also know Androidtv from set-top boxes or from dongles like NVIDIA Shield, which is also a cloud gaming platform, and from boxes like Xiaomi Mi Box, or recently Mi Box S, or Mi Box S something, even more recently, and from their Chinese clones. Well, you may be thinking, well, the topic of the presentation is developing Androidtv apps. So, in order to run your app on Androidtv, well, first let's start with you can run any Android app on Androidtv. You just have to do these 3 very simple things. You have to declare your app as discoverable by Leanback launcher. Leanback launcher is a name for a launcher that appears on Androidtv, which we can compare to an ordinary mobile launcher. Another thing you have to do is declare Leanback support, like this. And the third thing you have to do is declare touchscreen as not required, because Android TV doesn't support touch screens. And these are the only three things that you need to do to run your ordinary Android app on Android TV. And it will run, but it will not run very optimally, because probably it will not support Android TV navigation, for which you need to support the directional pad, which has key events like up, down, left, right, and there's also D-pad center and back. Home button is handled by the system, so you don't need to handle it in any way. And here we have a sample directional pad from NVIDIA Shield, which also has a dedicated button for voice control, which nowadays we call Google Assistant. And if you want to support directional controls, you need to override on key up and on key down callbacks in your view class. You have key events like, as I said, D-pad up, down, left, right, and you have also key events, key codes or key events like up and down, because a click consists of an up and a down within a specified time period. So, yeah. And clicks are handled normally anyway, so if you just override an ordinary on-click listener and you perform a central button click, it will be fired. For proper navigation on Android TV, your views have to be focusable, or focusable, I don't know. And you can specify for example, your next focus down, next focus left properties. Or if your views behave well enough without these extra properties, you don't have to specify them. You also want your focused views to distinguish from the others. So a good way to do it is to use a selector like this. For example, for state focused, you can apply some different drawable, a stateless drawable. This is how it's called. If you want to get rid of responsibility of handling focuses on your own, you can use what's called Android Leanback library, Leanback support library to be exact, which handles focuses automatically, and it does them by moving focus from one view to another, which is one paradigm of TV navigation, and another paradigm is to have a fixed focus but moving content. So for example, you would have a fixed focus here, but all the other views would be moving left and right if you were moving focus. Android TV Leanback library consists of a few complete screens, which consist of fragments, which consists of models, views, and presenters. For example, the main TV view layout that you may see in many apps present in the TV Play Store is Browse Fragment, where you have a left pane and the right pane, and on the left pane you have, for example, categories, and on the right pane you have contents of these categories. And this Browse Fragment consists of a row fragment, which is here. If you click an item in a row fragment, a distinguished focused item, you can go to its details, which is a view also provided by Leanback. You can have, for example, a vertical grid fragment, which is just like an ordinary grid view or a recycler view with Grid Layout Manager. And this focus moves up and down, and this grid moves up and down automatically. All of these single views are card views, also provided by Leanback, and it also provides you some other useful fragments like guided step fragment, for instance, where you can, for example, create a login screen or an options screen. This is, for example, what's provided in Leanback library as onboarding. All you need to do in onboarding is to fill the contents of these screens. Next up, we have a closer look at Browse Fragment. As you can see, all of these animations are handled and provided by Leanback library. Yeah, this playback view is also provided by Leanback library. You don't have to implement it on your own. Next up, we have a closer look at vertical video grid. This entry animation is also provided by Leanback library. All of these animations are handled by it. Then we have, as I said, the guided step guided step fragment where you can have some options. And then the last one, for example, which you can use for some other options with checkboxes or for login screen. Yeah. And here is a short example that I prepared, which is aimed at showing you how simple it is to use Leanback library. I used some open API with dog photos and species, and that's how I did it. It required just a few lines of code, just calling the API, parsing results, and passing it to the library. I'll show you how. So this is what browse fragment consists of. So we have categories and list rows and cards. And here in a callback, which is fired when building this whole fragment, we just populate these list rows. We create a header item, which is this one, category 1, for example. And then for every dog image that we got, we create a grid row. We create a new item for the grid row adapter, and then we create a list row from a header, and from a list row, and then we provide it to the category adapter, which is the vertical adapter. Very simple. If you want to browse this example, you can go to Android Studio and open samples, and then choose this one, TV Leanback Support Library. This is a sample app which contains all of these screens which are bundled and tangled together, but you can easily untangle them and use them separately or implement your own, but then you'll have to handle focusing. Next up, a very useful thing that we have in Androidtv for free is Google Assistant. And it's useful in two ways, because first of all, it can help you find content that's interesting for you. And second of all, it can perform all of the ordinary functions that the Google Assistant does. So for example, it can integrate with your light bulbs, or you can ask it for weather, and you can ask it to tell you a joke. Here is how it works with finding content. For example, if you ask it that you want to see Narcos, of course Narcos is also only available on Netflix, but this is just for example. So Google Assistant opened a special page. This is all part of Google Assistant with details of Narcos with cast, and it showed you that you can watch Narcos on Netflix. If you declared your app as searchable and you provided some content of your own to Google Assistant, then Google Assistant would, if it matched the query, then it could show results from your app here, next to Netflix. Next up, as I said, we can ask the Google Assistant what's the weather like. This is an ordinary thing. But then I was curious if we can also ask Google Assistant to talk to Kanarek app, whose creator I believe is here with us today. And yes, Google Assistant on Androidtv can talk to Kanarek and ask it about air quality. One of the other features that we have in Androidtv is Google Cast, which is a technology known from, for example, a Chromecast device, or from, for example, YouTube app, from which we can cast our videos to the smart television. And this is what we get for free. Basically, if you wanted to create a castable app, you would have to create a HTML5 application with a player and then cast it or serve it from your device. Yeah, and this is what you get from Androidtv for free as well, and you can implement apps for Chromecast or Google Cast. Another interesting thing on Androidtv is Androidtv input framework, because Androidtv was primarily meant for watching television. It had to provide some means for television sources to provide their content to it. So what they did is they came up with a TV input framework which consists of a few parts. One of them is TV provider, which is a content provider to which, and every app that declares that it is a TV input, it puts its channels, like, for example, in Poland we have TVP1, TVP2, these are channels, and it puts there its programs. For example, in Poland we have Jaka to Melodia, 1 z 10, etc. Oops. So this is what a TV input app puts into the TV provider. It puts some metadata. It also provides a playback method. So because, for example, if you're a TVP1 app, you can provide some metadata to Android, but you want to be able to handle playback on your own, you as an app, for security reasons, for instance. So this is how it's done. For example, TVP1 app handles its playback on its own, and I'll show you how. Playback of content from different TV inputs is done in a television app, in a TV app, which is part of Androidtv. It's a system app which aggregates content from different TV inputs, which handle playback on their own. So, for instance, here we have a television guide from the stock TV application, and we have some channels, and we have some programs from these channels, and these channels were provided by some different TV inputs, whether they be tunable TV inputs like from standard paid television that we have at homes from a cable, or whether they be streaming channels from the internet. But each of these channels is provided by some TV input, and this TV input handles playback of these channels. Here in the background of a different app. Yeah, there is some magic happening, but that's how it is. And here is how we open the Live Channels app, which is part of Androidtv, and we can browse through channels from different inputs. For example, there is a Haystack TV application, which is an aggregator of news from different televisions, and it provides its own channels. There is a Google Play and Movies and TV input, which provides its channel with recommendations from Google Play, Movies and TV. And you can create your own application which would provide its channels and handle playback of them. And what you can also do, for example, if you have a Xiaomi Mi Box, you can plug in an external TV tuner, you can plug in an antenna, and you can have some channels from that tuner here, if it's compatible with TV input. Yeah. To get to know some details about how to create a TV input, you can refer to samples again. Like this one, sample TV channel app using TV input framework. And, well, why am I telling you all of this? This is because Androidtv is getting more and more traction nowadays, and this is because of what is called Androidtv operator tier. You see, Google unveiled Androidtv in 2014, and it got moderate reception. It was shipped with TVs, with these set-top boxes, but people were generally not very interested in it. So Google tried to nail this business for them, and they came up with an Androidtv operator tier, in which they started cooperation with providers of pay TV, which we know, for example, in Poland we have a few providers like, I don't know, Multimedia, Vectra, UPC, and the likes. So Google started cooperating with companies like these, and they offered them that they will give them Android, but will not demand from them that they that they contain the stock Androidtv launcher. What you see here is Android 8 TV launcher, and this is what Google allowed TV operators to replace in their deployments. And then after they introduced this operator tier, I don't know, in 2016, something like that, the growth of Androidtv started, and now over 50% of Androidtv devices growth is thanks to operator tier. And 72% of pay TV operators are willing to deploy Androidtv STBs. So there's a whole new market opening right now for application developers who can find some interesting use cases for their apps. So, as I said, this is a stock Android 8 TV launcher. This is what Google allows TV operators to replace with their own launchers. And in this launcher, what you see here are applications and recommendations from, for example, Netflix, from NVIDIA games, and you can see apps like YouTube and the likes. And if you want to watch live television, you have to go explicitly to the Live Channels app, which is a part of Androidtv, and the application is developed by Google. If you want to watch live channels, you have to go to this application. And Google allows operators to change this whole ecosystem and to merge, for example, this live TV channels app with a launcher, and to create solutions like these. This, for example, on the left, is a recent deployment in Sweden for an operator called Comhem, which consists of 1.5 million Androidtv devices, new Androidtv devices in the market. This is a deployment in Korea, for example. This is how the launcher looks like. And these are launchers from USA and from India. As you can see, there are different apps. There is TV Guide, so there's ordinary television next to different applications. And all of these launchers provide Google Play, Google Assistant, Google Cast, and all of the other interesting Google services. And this is what TiVo offers TV operators as a solution for their launchers. This is called Experience 4, and this is how it looks like. So to sum up, what I would like you to take out from here is that Android TV development does not differ much from mobile Android. If you use Leanback, it's very simple because Leanback brings lots of ready-made components to simplify development of your apps. Number of Android TV devices in the field is rapidly growing due to operator tier. And the number of TV apps in Play Store is growing still, but you can see if you compare the difference, this is 2K against 2 million TV apps versus mobile apps. You can see that there's probably because you will have to come up with some use cases, but there is probably huge potential lying in Android TV applications because audience is growing for it. So there's lots of potential to innovate because and because all of the marketing, analytics, and monetization work exactly the same as on mobile Android, you can find some different interesting use cases for Android TV, like, I don't know, fitness apps. Or you can find some different interesting use cases for Google Assistant for Android TV. You can implement some Google Assistant actions. And what's interesting as a last takeaway, that when Google moves Android to other form factors like TV, and now they are moving it to automotive, we can be pretty sure that our jobs will be safe for a few following years. And so now, as we're getting close to the end, it's time for a funny meme. At least it's funny for me. It's this. Yeah, and because, well, I have your attention now, it's time for you to check out another meme. Yeah, so thank you.
Is using Leanback mandatory or not?
So the question is whether using Leanback library is mandatory or not.
Can I use like, I don't know, recycle views or stuff like that, like standard Android APIs for building UI?
Mm-hmm. So building Androidtv UI is not different from mobile. The only difference is that you have to handle focuses. And of course, the other difference is that the overall UX is completely different. But in general, you don't have to use Leanback. You can come up with your own solutions. And the rest of Android is the same as mobile. All of the APIs are the same, versioning, everything is the same. It's just added value of this TV input framework. And there's, well, some things are missing. For example, you don't have a gyroscope on Android TV, but you have other things. Yeah, another question?
So as far as I understand that you can buy a USB dongle that you can attach to your TV and run Android, not Android TV, on your TV, right?
Well, the question is whether...
No, it's not the question.
Okay.
It's just leading to that.
Okay, so some clarification. Yes, you can, if you have an Android, for example, a Xiaomi Mi Box, which doesn't have its TV tuner, if you buy a USB tuner dongle, you can attach it to the Mi Box and you can play television on Android. Was that the question?
No, okay, so I will talk to you later.
Okay, we'll clarify later. Okay, so thank you.